First thing you're going to want to do when restringing is take the head off the weed eater. You do this by pressing the button and pulling out from the weed eater. Next, you're going to want to start by inserting your string in the notch. When you insert your string, do not go with the grain. This is an example of what not to do. Instead, go against the grain like this. You're going to want to wrap around 24 to 25 times on the top part. Then repeat the same on the bottom part. Next, put the string holder back into the head of the weed eater while lining the string up with the eyelets. Pull them through the eyelets and tuck them behind the head of the weed eater so that you can put the top part back on. The first thing to note when refueling all still equipment is that all still equipment will take mixed gas. All mixed gas cans will be located on the front of the trailer and marked with either the word mix or black tape as shown here. Also, anytime you are refueling your weed eater, check your string and make sure that you don't need some more. And anytime you are restringing, check your fuel and make sure that you don't need to refuel. To start a weed eater at the first of the day, you will put the weed eater on choke as shown here. You do not need to hold the trigger to start the weed eater at the beginning of the day. Pull the rope until the weed eater starts. Throughout the rest of the day, you can leave it off choke and pull the trigger on full throttle when starting, and it should start fairly easily.
Before you get started, you always want to have safety glasses and ear protection, whether it be these or these are supplied at work from Rodney or Mike, and the ear protection you get out in the shop. Before you get started with the weed eater, you want to check your area, your surroundings, make sure you know where the windows are, make sure you know where the vehicles are, because you don't want to throw any debris or rocks or anything like that up against a window or someone's car. So always be aware of your surroundings before you start your weed eater, because these things are very powerful. So just always bear in mind where you're at in relation to other things that are breakable. Ear protection, make sure you got that in. Eye protection, make sure you've got that on. And now you're ready to go. The fact that it's not clean and clear, we need to clean all this out. It needs to be one consistent line with no grass hanging over the edge, no debris hanging over the edge. So the weed eater is responsible for cleaning that up. And you'll clean what's left over up with the blower. When I come through here with this weed eater, it'll make a really big, huge mess. And then I'll beautify it at the end with the blower, clean everything out of the edge, get it one consistent line all the way through where there's no trash or debris in it. And that will be kind of our goal everywhere we go. Anytime I'm edging, I always work right to left. And anytime I'm topping, which we'll talk some more about that. Anytime I'm topping, I always work left to right. Always work, because of the way that the weed eater spins. When you're topping, you're better going left to right. And when you're edging, you're better going right to left. So hold whatever is comfortable to you. What's comfortable to me is holding it straight up and down when I'm edging like this. But it's going to be whatever feels comfortable in your hands. But this is just the way that I do it. You know, it's not there's a million ways to skin a cat, and this is kind of one of those examples. Anything around here is now the weed eater's responsibility to clean this up. And we want to go the same level as Andrew was on the mower. You want to match it up precisely, exactly the same. You always take a step back and kind of look at what you've done, Kind of get a different angle, make sure there's not any grass any longer than others. Sometimes you gotta take about 3 or 4 different looks at it. Anytime you're in a customer's yard that has a lot of, if their driveway or sidewalk has a lot of cracks, a lot of times they'll end up with growth in those cracks. And we're responsible for that as well. And the best way to handle that is to go ahead and lay your weed eater over, zip them off, zip everything off, and then when you're done, you apply Roundup to those areas. Anytime you're at a business or at a house or a church or wherever you're at and they have water hole covers like these, we go ahead and edge them out just like they're part of the yard. So you don't want grass to be grown over these things because it just looks tacky. So you will edge this out everywhere you go. A lot of yards have multiple ones. A lot of the businesses like Hutch's will have multiple ones like this. Edge every one of them out, and then you flatten it out. You top it just like you would like a sidewalk to even it out with the mow cut. Make it as even as you can. But about every 30 or 40 feet, you're gonna want to pop out your string. A lot of that will depend on the experience of the guy. All you're doing is you have a button right here. You're tapping that button on the ground, and that's gonna automatically release the string. When it's about the right height or about the right length, you'll be able to hear it bump against your guard. We call it bumping your button. That's what we call it. Anytime you're against a rock line like this, or a flower bed border, or a fence line, you don't want to hold flat like this with your button on the ground, because there ends up being a lot of grass that'll stick up against these rocks or fences or wherever we're at. So what I'll do is I'll kind of dip my weed eater down like this at a little bit of an angle and shoot towards the bottom of whatever the surface is.